Yo, what's good, everyone? Welcome to Chatterbox Bearcats. I'm Chuck Walter. Alongside me today is Nick Niehaus. We are not discussing the Central Florida game at all. Still some concerns whether that game will be played or not due to, obviously, the hurricane that is set to hit Florida. Thoughts and prayers with everyone involved. We'll have the update on that tomorrow. Houdini and Eric Lilly, the midweek show, takes a backseat to a midweek basketball show where we know we have some content. Did cut some bites from Wes Miller. I got some nuggets from Connor Hickman. Saw about 25 minutes of the 35-minute presser. You watched the whole thing. So we're here to tell the people what they missed if they did not hear any of it. Starting with Tyler McKinley. And I know what you're thinking. The Cincinnati Bearcats returned, 6 of their best players from a season ago. They have a freshman in Tyler Betsy that's one of the top rated recruits in history. They got a transfer in Dylan Mitchell that was a starter in the Big 12 a season ago and is a former McDonald's All-American. And you are starting with Tyler McKinley. And I'm starting with him because I thought this was very intriguing. He is now out for the season with a knee injury. Typically, this would just be a mention. It's a freshman that's going to be redshirting. He could have been redshirting regardless of the injury. But it does not seem like that was the case. Listen to Wes Miller talk about the loss from Tyler McKinley.
The only really bad news I have today is Tyler McKinley, going down with a knee injury in our first practice. And, guys, he had such a terrific summer, such a terrific fall. We thought a ton of him. He was exceeding our expectations. And I said that to everybody that is in my inner circle long before he got hurt. He was one of the guys, if you said, who surprised you? I thought he'd be good, and he was better than that. I mean, so much so I was surprised. But he went down. He had knee surgery a week or so ago, and he's going to be out for the year. Like, that's a significant blow, and that really hurts the depth in our front court. And a guy that we thought was, going to be really good here, but was doing better than that or trending ahead of where we thought he'd be. So you can't have stuff like that continue to happen.
Okay, so Wes Miller says that Tyler McKinley is one of the most impressive players in the entire offseason. He will not be playing this year. Were you in the camp that Tyler McKinley was going to redshirt this year, or are you not shocked whatsoever to hear Wes say such high remarks on Tyler McKinley?
I was definitely reserving my thoughts, especially after last year where Rayvon, we went into the year thinking Rayvon was going to be a top contributor, or at least a contributor. He ended up not getting any PT. So I was in the wait-and-see mode, and then before today, hearing that he was going to be out, you heard that it wasn't looking good last week, so you kind of saw the writing on the wall that he might be out for the season. I was trying to look at it glass half full. Now, obviously, it's an injury, so there's just no positives whatsoever, but I was like, all right, well, he redshirts this year. I'd rather a 22-year-old Tyler McKinley than an 18-year-old. Now he might be 19, but still, I was trying to be positive. And then you hear those comments today by Wes Miller that he was probably the most surprising player of the summer, and it really sucks. Detrimental loss to the team. Front court's bare, like you said, Wave Aziz, and you played Stand Up as the intro song today. Arrington Page, step up. We're going to need him to be huge off the bench behind Aziz Bandago with McKinley down. So not great comments to hear starting off the presser.
One guy that we know a lot about is Jizzle James. Penciled in, I wouldn't say sharpied yet, as UC's starting point guard, just because of Wes Miller's infatuation with Day-Day Thomas, and quite frankly, because Day-Day Thomas is a really good player. But I am a believer that Jizzle James should be sharpied in is your starting point guard this upcoming season. And based on the comments from Wes Miller, it sounds like he's kind of giving us a tip that Jizzle James is going to be their guy this upcoming season.
I don't think I've ever had a freshman that was as consistent and diligent with his work ethic on the court as Jizzle was last year as a freshman. So, people talked about, are you surprised how he finished the year? Heck no, I wasn't surprised because I watched this guy come out, and now we've had guys work at it now. But as a freshman, I've never seen somebody that worked at it like he did day after day after day. When you work at it like that, you're going to find some results. And certainly he's talented enough to find some results. He's done that again here this summer, this fall. He started the same way kind of did with the work ethic. He's got to sustain that. but he's a significantly improved player. In fact, I was laughing, kind of chuckling, watching film here at night a lot the last couple weeks, thinking about where he was at this time last year and where he is now. It's just significantly different.
Where he was last year was playing, 14 minutes, 15 minutes in games to start the season. By the end, he played 39 minutes against Indiana State with Day-Day Thomas hurt, scored 21 points in that game, scored 25 against Bradley, 11 in San Francisco, 12 against Baylor, 11 against Kansas. Finished the last 5 games of last season with double digits. Also had games where he had, multiple steals, 5 assists. This guy can ball, man. This guy can ball. What is the ceiling for Jizzle James this upcoming season? I am going to go. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you guys what I see here. Telling you my opinion. I think Jizzle James is an all-conference level talent. I don't think it's crazy to say it. I think he's gone to the association after this season. I think he's that good and has that much talent and has Hall of Fame pedigree, the son of Edgerrin.
I don't think you're crazy for that. The one thing that stands out to me with that soundbite from Wes was he was laughing. He was laughing at the difference between Jizzle last year at this time and now. Wes Miller was chuckling at, I was going to say, maybe it's because we just really wanted him to be good to start the year, that no matter what he did, we were like, all right, Jizzle's awesome. But he was always good. He wasn't like, it's not like he started the year off poor. And at this point in the year, Wes is laughing at the fact he's improved this much in a year. So that the ceiling, like you said, can absolutely be an all-conference level player. That got me super excited. You look at every single list that these people put out on Twitter and breakout players for the season. Jizzle's on all of them. But to hear Wes talk about that and how much he's improved as a player, it only adds to the lore of Jizzle James.
I thought his ceiling at one point last year was Davion Mitchell. Junkyard dog, outstanding defender, maybe never going to be the greatest shooter, but can be a 6'2" point guard that could pick up point of attack, could pick up full court, can knock down the mid-range game, and is a bulldozer on his way to the bucket with athleticism. I thought Davion Mitchell. The more that I've watched him, man, and his highlights, and this is going to sound insane. Look, this is the same person, me, who said David Narsuk was going to put up 11 and 12. I watched his tape at JUCO, and I was like, David Narsuk, oh my God. So you got to take everything I say with a grain of salt. But I think this dude, forget Davion Mitchell. This is gonna be bold. Print the shirts right now. I think his ceiling's Ja Morant.
Whoa. Clip it.
Clip it. That. I think he's a superstar, man. I think Cincinnati has a legit superstar if he can start knocking down the 3 ball at a 37% clip, which is easier said than done. But his mid-range game is one of the best in basketball. I feel like he has good balance, good defender. And if he works as hard as Wes Miller says, why not?
He's going to be a superstar, 100%. He's got it, like you said, Hall of Fame pedigree. The only thing that would hold me back from the Ja Morant is that Ja Morant was that team. We just have some guys. Now, the usage might not be there, but he's going to command the team like Ja, I'm sure. That's not crazy to say.
I said ceiling.
Okay, that's true.
And it's a stretch. Look, it's a stretch. I just do see some comparisons between the two and the way Ja played at Murray State.
Yeah, and you said you didn't listen to Skillings' part, but one thing I wanted to highlight what Skillings was saying was high flyers. He said it about 5 times. He kept saying the word high flyers. It's like when we're talking about football players like they're dogs. Like, this team has high flyers, and Jizzle is one of those, just like Ja Morant was. I know you said it's a ceiling, but Jizzle's not the only one that's going to be able to slam dunk it in Fifth Third Arena this year. That's one thing that Skillings, it was one of the first answers he had that last year there was a few. Skillings obviously could throw down. Jizzle had some. Day-Day had some. Aziz could obviously dunk. But this year, every single player out there is a freak athlete, and everybody's a high flyer, and that's something that's super exciting to see.
Yeah, Connor Hickman has a 40-inch vertical. Said that it's rare you see a guy with a 40-inch vert rocking a comb over, to which a reporter responded, "Are you going to put comb over on the back of your jersey this year? And I was like, is that Houdini from Chatterbox Sports at the press conference? What? And of course, Hickman's answer was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I was like, hey, A for effort on the question, but I don't know what bite he was looking for to top off his article. Like, yeah, I'm going to put comb over on the back, but hey, to each their own. But going back to John Morant, man, averaged 12 points as a freshman at Murray State. I mean, not far off from Jizzle's 9 points per game, and he obviously jumped from 12 to 24 a game, and I'm not expecting Jizzle to average 24, but I do think that Jizzle is an NBA-type player. Ceiling of John Morant, maybe a little bit of a stretch, but why not be bold? So when he is a top 10 pick in the NBA draft, I can say I told you so.
Yeah, now's the time. Let it fly, for sure. I like it. I mean, he's going to command the team.
Takes, baby.
He's gonna be the focal point.
Will Rayvon Griffith have a big role this season? That's yet to be determined. UC's going to be battling, 11 guys for UC are going to be battling for spots on the floor. You can't play them all. Everyone's going to have a role. But this bite from Wes Miller makes me think that the redshirt freshman from Cincinnati is going to have opportunities this year. It's as simple as he checks off a box that Wes Miller is going to want checked off.
Guys, he led our team in rebounding this summer on offense and defense. And if you guys know me well, I like that stat. I like the rebounding stat on both sides. And so that was a really good sign. I'd say we got an edgy, competitive group. He's been as competitive and as physical and as edgy in between the lines as any player on our team from the start of summer till now. That bodes well for him finding his way onto the court. We know he has gifts, right? We wouldn't have brought him here if he didn't. But he's done a nice job of doing some of the little things, and specifically the way he's cutting, running the floor, rebounding on both ends. It's stood out to date, and I'm not diminishing the other things he can do on the floor that you guys already know about.
I mean, think of what position he plays. You got Dan Skillings ahead of him. You have potentially Simas Lukosius ahead of him. You have potentially, Dylan Mitchell if you're trying to slide Ray into the 4. You have, the list goes on and on of guys that are going to be battling at that guard wing position to where a redshirt freshman doesn't seem like the most reliable option there. But if he does that consistently, grabs offensive boards, he's going to get minutes just through that. Hustle plays.
He's somebody that you want to see crack the rotation because just honestly, from the history of Wes Miller becoming the coach of Cincinnati, obviously Wes Miller's first recruiting class out of high school was Dan Skillings and Josh Reed. And that's obviously proven to be a huge class, but Rayvon was really that first high school recruit that we saw Wes be able to recruit at an elite level. Rayvon was a top 15 guy at one point when he was in high school. I think he ended up in the 60s, but this was the first thing that snowballed the kind of momentum where we're like, okay, this Wes guy, he can recruit the hell out of guys. And so you really want to see him crack the rotation, but man, it is deep at the wing. Rebounding though, and the way that Wes talks about rebounding, that's going to be the way that Rayvon gets it done. Obviously, he didn't mention, I'll put it this way. He's gritting his way into the rotation. He's doing it with grit. So we saw that with Josh Reed last year. He was just a gritty player. If Rayvon can be, that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing if, and not everybody's going to be asked to go out there and, knock down threes. So that is good to hear for Rayvon.
But you went to the Hall of Fame dinner. I know that one of your big takeaways was Josh Reed supposed to have a big year. And then also you listened to the whole Dan Skillings presser. So if there's anything that stood out from that you haven't mentioned, those are two things that we'll take to finish off the show.
One thing, and this isn't from the Hall of Fame dinner. I do have a funny story that Wes shared right after this. But from Wes's presser, the last thing I'll mention is you really can tell that Wes thinks Tyler Betsy's a stud. The way he said it, he's like, I think he's going to be a really good player, but it was just the tone of voice.
He said when, Wes not if. He said when, not if. He's like, this guy's going to be a star. It's when, not if.
Yeah, and the tone of voice he had was so confident in that. So I'm just super excited to see
That's
Tyler
how
Betsy
Mick used
play.
to talk about Kilpatrick, right? He'd roll
Yeah.
out of bed and score 20. And we're like, all right, we'll see about that. But sometimes
Yeah.
when you talk about a player a certain way, it gives you that confidence.
And Hickman said that he didn't know that Betsy could shoot like that. So you can just tell that Betsy's having a good preseason. My one thing from the tip-off dinner, which was awesome, by the way, really cool event. Roy Williams was awesome. Getting to know the players was really cool as well. Josh Reed, like you said, expected to have a big year, probably the same role, get in there and defend. Obviously, Wes was asked today who's going to take over John Newman's spot, and he's like, well, it's probably not going to be one guy. It's probably going to be a few. I would expect Josh Reed to be able to go out there and defend. But the coolest story I heard from the tip-off dinner was about the transfer portal and Arrington Page. Apparently, the very first day that Page hit the portal, they got on the Zoom call, and Chad Dollar goes, "We're not recruiting you this time. You're either coming or you're not." And I thought that was something that was really cool about Chad's confidence with Page, because that is something we're going to see where if you do miss out on a high school guy, burning bridges is probably the last thing you want to do. And you know that Wes is just a good stand-up guy. And even if they don't choose the Bearcats out of high school, I'm sure Wes is not burning any relationships, any bridges. So to get Page to come here after his first year at USC and Chad Dollar to joke with him like, hey, we're not going to do anything for you this time. You're either coming or you're not. I thought that was something that was really cool to peel back the curtain at the tip-off dinner. But yeah, Roy Williams was super cool. You can tell the intensity that you can tell where Wes gets it from. I'll put it that way. The guy's a competitor. So,
and I had Mason Madsen on, who played under Wes Miller, and I had him behind the scenes and asked some questions about Wes, and he was like, "Oh, he's the man, dude." Like, obviously, it didn't work out in my career in Cincinnati. It made sense to go elsewhere, but Wes Miller is the man. He's the right guy for the job. So take it for what it's worth. From one of the guys that literally left the school and transferred, says Wes Miller's the man, the right guy for the job, and, loves him. Loves him. So good stuff, man. Bearcats open up on October 18th. That is a Friday. It's an exhibition game against Ohio State. It's at Fifth Third Arena. Not a game that counts, but it's a game you got to win, Niehaus. I'm treating this game like it's round 2 of March Madness, man.
Well, Wes made it very clear in the presser today that he's not going to be coaching it the same as if it was a real game, and substitutions won't be the same. So I don't know if reading between the lines, he was telling Bearcat fans not to overreact either way, loss or win, but it's Ohio State. You know that's going to happen.
Yeah, let's win. I mean, when's the last time we beat Ohio State in anything? It's been a long-ass time, man. It has been a long time. Chatterbox Bearcats, be a long-time subscriber by just hitting the button. It's free. It's available wherever you get your audio podcasts and on YouTube. Join us for the rest of the football season and brighter days ahead with Wes Miller and the top 25 ranked Cincinnati Bearcats heading into the season. Chuck Walter, Nick Niehaus. We will see you next time, everyone. Peace.